What's up, college football fans? Sonoy Valente here once again with the Mean Green Show. Today, joined by Jared Kalmus, and we're going to recap and talk about the early signing day class that UTSA has put together thus far. And before we get into all that, guys, you already know the drill. If you're a fan of college football and G5 football, consider hitting that like and subscribe button because that's truly all that we talk about. All right, Jared. Well, thank you so much for jumping on with me. I know right now, as it sits one day after early signing day, you guys 24/7 has you guys ranked composite at the 58th spot nationally, just really getting close to a top 50 class, which is pretty elite. Um, and I think you guys are neck and neck with SMU and Memphis. I don't know. I saw Javi Cardenas's text about it, and I want to say that it's real close with SMU and Memphis, and maybe Tulane as far as the top G5 recruiting class.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, just want to kind of get your quick thoughts on the class, and maybe if you can name a few guys that you're excited about joining in this 23 class.
Yeah, well, first off, apologize. I didn't realize I had my Christmas presents and Amazon packages behind me. So sorry, looks a little off. But, just like my friends and family are receiving gifts, so too are the UTSA fans. Really tremendous class for the Roadrunners, best of program history by far. Kind of my internal benchmark of where I'd like to see the class end up was like that mid to top 60 ranking, like 65 to 61 in the nation. And they've actually surpassed that with they're at 58 now. And I still see a path for them to go even higher, right? In the 24/7 composite. I think my main takeaway overall is it's obviously a really successful class, really highly ranked class, but it's also really well-rounded, right? It's not like they just loaded up at one position. I think they really addressed all the key needs that they had, with the exception of the safety position. I think that one's still to be determined. There's a lot of work left to be done there. But really strong class, from top to bottom, really. I don't think there's a lot of guys on this list that you look at and you just kind of scratch your head, like, why was this guy a take? I think the only guy that you could probably do that for is 6'7", 370 pounds. So in that case, you're kind of willing to take a risk on a guy that large and hope that he can figure it out when he gets on campus. I don't know. Did you want to maybe have me list top 3 guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Whoever, I guess, give me some people that you think that may make an impact, this next season, and then maybe if there's a player or two that you see being a project guy down the road that could be a key contributor in your opinion.
Cool. So first off, I think it's going to be a really good competition between the 2 JUCO offensive tackles that UTSA brought in. The first one is Daniel Ogundipe. So he's actually the highest rated recruit in program history, number 2 offensive tackle in all of JUCO. He actually started his career at Old Dominion, and then when JUCO ended up at UTSA. Just a really well-rounded offensive tackle. I think he has prototypical NFL size, strength, and speed. So he looks really good, and I think he's probably going to be right in the midst to start at left or right tackle for UTSA this coming year. But also don't sleep on the other JUCO counterpart, Buffalo Cruz. Tremendous name for an offensive tackle, no denying that much. He's also a JUCO guy. He actually is going to have 3 years to play at UTSA because he sat out this season because he already had offers. He describes himself as a speed tackle, which is really fascinating to me. 6'5", 270. So he can move around really well, right? I think if he can put on, an extra 10, 15 pounds, something like that, he's going to fit really well with UTSA's offense. Jeff Traylor made a comment in his press conference that they really wanted to improve the speed, agility, and length at the offensive tackle position because he feels like they run inside zone blocking schemes really well, but they struggle with outside zone because they just don't have the length on the edge. I think both of those guys help address that part of the equation. Some other instant impact guys that I see, Rodney Groce Jr., I think is how you pronounce the name. It's Groce. He's a Mississippi State bounce back, pretty highly rated. He was a 0.87 on the 24/7 composite. Nothing super crazy on his film, but he's just kind of in the right spot at the right time, right? And I think that's the exact kind of linebacker that UTSA needs. I think they're going to get some of the pass rushing and kind of havoc plays from the outside. So if he's able to step in and replace Trevor Harmonson, who's exhausted his eligibility at inside linebacker, that's a huge win for the Roadrunners. And then lastly, UTSA signed a whole bunch of running backs. Depth was a huge problem for UTSA. I think even UNT fans will know, having played UTSA twice last year, that it was extremely thin. They pretty much ended the season with one scholarship running back that was available, and Kavorian Barnes. So I think my money is probably going to be on Robert Henry, who's a JUCO signing. He was the number one running back in junior college and won like the JUCO version of the Heisman this year. So he'll be on campus in January, and he's probably going to be the guy to beat for that second running back spot behind Kavorian Barnes. But they also signed Brandon High out of the high school ranks, who he's actually going to enroll early as well as a true freshman. He's probably the best, most athletic running back that UTSA signed out of high school, which is saying a lot because it's been a strong position for the Roadrunners historically. They also have a transfer portal addition from Vanderbilt, Rocco Griffin as well, who started some games for Vandy. So between those three guys, I think one of them is almost assuredly going to be second string running back for UTSA, spelling Kavorian Barnes.
Kind of staying on Henry for a second, because again, this is historic class for UTSA. There's a lot of guys we could name off, but Robert Henry, basically, the Heisman equivalent of the JUCO ranks. And do you think he has a legit shot to maybe overcome Barnes for the number one spot, or do you think Barnes has that thing pretty locked down?
Man, it's hard to imagine Barnes not sticking that starting spot. I mean, he's just so explosive, right?
Mhm.
I think he's a good fit for UTSA's offense as well. So to be honest with you, Henry was kind of a last minute addition for UTSA. Not really a guy that I had on my radar as a potential signing for the Runners, especially after Rocco Griffin committed a transfer from Vanderbilt. So I'm not as familiar with his game so far. I just know he's been highly productive, right? But I think, it's probably size wise, he probably fits a little bit better at the FBS level, because Barnes is a little bit on the smaller side. But I think Barnes' ability to crack open the big run, right, with even the smallest of hole is going to make him hard to take off the field.
Yeah. Do you happen to know how many spots are left for National Signing Day? I know schools, nowadays get most of their guys in on ESD, but yeah, do you have any idea, A, I guess how many spots, and B, if there are any spots, maybe what positions and or players they may target to fill those last spots?
Kind of a hot take, but there is no limit anymore, right? The only limit you have is your 85 scholarship allocation. So they changed the rules for the NCAA recently. So theoretically, if some 4-star, 5-star guy wanted to come to UTSA, they would probably just cut a scholarship for a guy that's not playing, right, and bring in that other guy. So I'm hesitant to throw any number out. But I guess to get to the point where UTSA would have to force players into the portal and pull their scholarships, I would guess they probably have 3 more spots to use before they get to that point. But it's certainly almost a guarantee that some of the guys at UTSA that are not playing right now are going to end up in the portal in the next couple of weeks for sure. So, the more that go in, the more that go out, the more that could come in, right? So it's going to be fluid up until the start, really of the season, or start of spring, or the start of fall ball, because obviously they can sign guys through the summer as well.
Yeah. Well, all right, Jared, anything else we need to touch on before we hop off?
No, I don't think so. I think maybe I'm taking it for granted because it's recency bias, but UTSA had a really, really, really good group of underclassmen receivers commit in this class. Most of them committed pretty early, so I haven't spent as much time talking about them in my coverage. But I think when you look at Devin McQuinn from Jacksonville, East Texas, Jamal Hardy from Dallas, I think both of those guys. And David Amador as well from North Shore in Houston. He's going to play in the slot. I think all 3 of those guys have the potential to be, just as good as Zachary Franklin, Josh Yves, JT Clark, those kind of guys. Very, very impressive film, great speed. Obviously, they're not going to get a ton of playing time right off the bat because UTSA is so stacked at receiver. But I think those guys are going to have really, really nice careers, and I'm really excited for their potential.
Yep, UTSA. The guys continue to build off of the momentum, so it'll be interesting going into the AAC. But all right, Jared. Well, thank you so much for jumping on. And hey, guys, if I forgot to plug in the beginning, but Alamo Dome Audible. If you're not already subscribed over there, make sure to go check that out. It's grade A content. But yeah, Jared, thank you once again, and As always, oh, I almost said the Go Mean Green. Well, that's not what we're doing here, but but thank you for jumping on.
Yeah, of course. I hope you and your family have a great Christmas. Happy New Year. Thanks for having me on as always. I'm sure I'll be back in no time.
Likewise, my man. Thank you so much.